Hello there. Good morning. Welcome from Japan. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, an exercise that I do every morning, a little bit after waking up, to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with the challenges and the opportunities that I met. I plan for the coming day, prepare myself for death, and I'm off to the races. Now, first, let's get a few things out of the way first. First, a welcome to new subscribers that may be finding this video. This is not a Japan. Thank you. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. So glad you're here on my channel. You've visited my channel. I have to let you know, though, that this is not a Japan-related video. This Good Life meditation is a personal diary, journal, whatever you want to call it, that I do live every day at about this time. So if you want the Japan content, you can either look over my shoulders. I'm at a Lawson Station convenience store here in Japan, but I try to frame it in such a way that I don't capture people. You know, it's not a polite thing to do. So you may see people walk past me. You may hear stuff in the background. You may see that I'm drinking a can of Japanese hot coffee, but that's about as close as we're going to get to Japan, other than me telling anecdotal stories about my last 24 hours and my plans for today. If you want the normal Japan content, like the retiring in Japan videos, look for those as my daily uploads, usually on the other side of the day. Well, actually, no, the uploads on the channel are also in the same morning. I do them on social media on the other side of the day, at the end of the day, but then I do YouTube in the morning. So usually two main videos, two dependable videos you can count on every day are, one, this video at this time, and then a few hours earlier, the retiring in Japan video, another long one. All right, that, and I need to make a disclaimer, not a disclaimer, a warning. I do talk about sensitive subjects here that upset people. I talk about death. I talk about suicide. I talk about my lack of belief in God. And I don't bring them up necessarily as, you're going to talk about it. It just comes up as part of the conversation or part of the dialogue sometimes. I just want to let you know that, because I've received enough, I've been doing this enough years, this particular video, and I've gotten enough feedback from people who tell me it makes them uncomfortable. So just to let you know. And you can see these, you can always pick these videos out. The title is always the same, Good Life, the Good Life with a little sunshine at the front. All right. Anything else? I feel like I'm missing something out. Oh, my thank you. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Have a new supporter yesterday. Thank you. I was happy that you joined. I sent you a message. My supporters my members on YouTube and those that watch the videos. You all are the ones that fuel, financially, my adventures in Japan. You bought me this coffee this morning. Thank you. This is the Boss Coffee Farm. It was on sale this morning, 100 yen. So I got it for 108 with the tax. It's very good. It's very sweet, hot. With a bit of a milk flavor to it. Okay, so what I do in this video then is three things. After all of that preamble, I talk about the last 24 hours and I point out, I do this not to provide a report, but I do this, see what I have this creed that I developed. It's in my book, Going Alone. A creed, as you know, is just a set of principles that one uses to guide their life. You can have a religious creed, a secular creed, whatever you want to have. I developed my creed and I call it the Good Life, which is a nod and a tip of the hat to the Stoic tradition. I borrowed a lot of my ideas in that creed from the Stoics. That's how I live my life. Now, I don't just write the creed and then set it aside. It's a living endeavor. So the way I keep it alive is that I remember it every day. I do this exercise. Usually before I started doing the video, I would just do this myself on my motorcycle, riding my motorcycle to work. This was back in 2018 when I first started doing this. And I would go over the objectives and talk in my head, and then I would just start to think about the last 24 hours, what I did, where I stumbled, where I did well, and how I could improve. And then I started forecasting the day ahead. So now it's become what it is. I do three things. I think about the last 24 hours and I point out any challenges or opportunities that I met. I go over the 8 objectives of the creed, really just touching them. And then I think about the next 24 hours and what I plan to do in the coming day to prepare myself. But what I'm trying to do basically is learn from my mistakes, and grow from my successes in the last 24 hours, and arm myself with a readiness and fortitude for the day. For example, if I know that I'm going to be having a family reunion of some sort, and I've got an uncle who's particularly annoying, and I know that's coming up, then I can prepare myself, and I don't. I don't have any uncles left. But let's say that was the case, then I could prepare myself and say, ready to, okay, well, Uncle Bob is probably going to do X, Y, and Z, or say, A, B, C. How am I going to prepare myself to react? Get the idea? So let's begin. And I always keep a list, and I name every day. So today is the 12th here in Japan, day of February 2025, and I've named this day 5 days, because we're 5 days out from moving into the house that my wife and I bought here in Japan. We bought that house less than 15 days ago. And we're moving in next Monday. Okay, so day 5 days, how did the last 24 hours go? Well, first I have to give a star rating to yesterday. Remember, I rate every day by 1 to 5 stars, depending on how it went. And I had a tough 2-star week at the start of the week, Monday. I think it was earlier in the week. I had 3 days in a row that were 2-star days. And, I was really struggling. Yesterday was another 5-star day. I really did good. Although maybe I should take a star off for the risk. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Make it a 4-star day, because I did something stupid yesterday. So it was a good day, but I'm going to take a point off for stupidity. So in the last 24 hours, we were working at the house, and 2 things happened that are of note. One, I got frustrated because I couldn't do the stuff that I wanted to do, because it seems like, you remember when I was my daughter's all grown, and I don't have to worry about taking her to school and stuff like that anymore, which really, that kind of stuff really eats up the time, right? As an active adult with a family, we get used to squeezing our stuff into little slots throughout the day. It's hard to do, especially with young children. I sometimes, as a retired man with a grown daughter and a career in my rearview mirror, I sometimes let myself think that I'm going to have bigger blocks of time that are free for me to do things. And I really wanted to work on the yard yesterday. I was really excited to do that. And it just seemed like things kept coming up throughout the day that I needed to go here and there and the other thing. And I ended up in the morning not really being able to do anything. So that was a bit of a point of frustration. Now, that frustration didn't rise any further than below the surface. It was like a submarine cruising at submarine depths within me. Nobody that I was around me except my wife, she can tell anything, would have known that I was feeling that way. But I felt it, and I actively used my principles. I used my principle of temperance to control my emotional reaction, so that I would not I would not let it float to the surface and affect my family around me. And then also I used reason to reason my way out of it, to say, hey, this is the stuff that I need to do throughout the day is reasonable to do, to use that word. These are things that I need to do. I need to help my family with my father-in-law. I need to, when I decided to go out and have breakfast rather than eat at home, which took some extra time. Lunch, we ended up having lunch over at the in-laws' house rather than at the house, so you get the idea. So I was challenged, and I think I met the challenge well. So I give myself a good stars for that one, because in the past, before I started these exercises, whatever I felt was just whatever I felt. Now it's not the case anymore. I sense the feeling coming, and I say, wait, what are you? Where are you coming? When's this feeling come? And then I grabbing my tools, my principles, and saying, okay, how can I apply temperance to this? Well, how can I apply reason? What is my true limit and true opportunity that I have in this case? That's the next one coming up. So probably that was one of the first of the 2 points that I wanted to point out yesterday. The second one is the one that I take away the star. I told you that I had a lot of pent-up anxiousness. That's not anxiousness, or eagerness to work on the house. I wanted to get out and work. My first day to work in the yard of our new house And I've only ever owned a house one time before, and that was back in 2000 in California. And I did work on the garden then, but I was too much of a bloody mess in my, what was I, how old was I then? That would have been early 30s. I was too much of a mess in my early 30s to have enjoyed that, so I'm not even going to count that. Anyway, I went into worked on the yard in the afternoon with a vengeance, and I videotaped most of it, and I uploaded it to YouTube, and I'm really glad that's on the DIY brand and playlist for the house. I'm trying to capture document as much of this experience as possible, the transition of the house. It's very interesting to me, at least. And I think it might be interesting to others. I had the benefit of a couple of years of being on the other side, being in America, working the workaday in Southern California, watching YouTubers in Japan do their thing with their Akia houses that they bought, and I thought, my turn will come. Now it's my turn. And so I'm learning from the things that I liked. Like, for example, sometimes I really did like the videos where the YouTubers just put the camera in the garden and they were shoveling away and just let the camera run. It was fun to watch sometimes. No speeding up, no music, nothing. So that's what I did yesterday. But if you see that video, you may see that how I was really going at it. I'm 60 years old and I'm in good shape. I walk 10 miles plus a day. I do push-ups and sit-ups, and I eat really well, and I have for a long time. I'm in good shape. But I took a risk yesterday. You know, heart disease and runs in my family, and the men in my family die of heart attacks, typically, including my father. And I was lifting some of those rocks and doing stuff yesterday, and it was a little voice in the back of my head was saying, Kurt, your cardiovascular stuff is happening in a way that it doesn't happen. My dad died overexerting himself riding a bicycle. And just about the time that little voice started to speak up, my sister-in-law showed up. She came around the corner, and she stepped in, and after a while she interviewed. She saw what was going on, and she was like, Kurt, I think we've had enough for today. She knows well enough. And I'm grateful for Yoko for, tapping me on the shoulder, so to speak, and saying, 60-year-old grandpa dude, it's time to call it quits for the day. So this was an example of where I'm calling it it's a negative, a physical exertion. I overdid it yesterday, and I might have took a risk, and I told my wife and Yoko and Dad over dinner last night, wouldn't that be a shame to die of a heart attack, 2 months into my retirement and five days before moving into my new home, that would be a shame. So, well, it'd be a shame to die, period, but so there's that. Thank you. Yoko caught me in that case. So that's why I took away a star yesterday. It was a great day, except for the fact that I took an unnecessary risk. As for the creed, now, my creed consists of 8 objectives. These are, and I don't have to detail them when I do this, you can read the book if you want. It's available at goingalone.org. The objectives are, number 1, to be always ready to die, to have my affairs in order, my relationship sound, and my life's work complete. And they all are. 2, to make good and effective use of time, to not waste my days, to not let this precious day, the 12th day of February 2025, pass as what do you call it when you just take it for granted? I'm not going to take this day for granted. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. These are the aforementioned 8 objectives and 35 principles of my creed. 4, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become someone who reacts well to difficult emotional situations. 5, to perform good actions relative to my creed. 6, to recognize my true limits and true opportunities so that I'm doing things within scope of my capability and not expecting anything outside of that scope. 7, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And 8, to maintain my balance. Maybe the most challenging of all of the objectives is to keep balance. It's the active, kinetic motion of living in such a way that I'm not falling over myself, stepping over myself, tripping over myself with indeliberate living. Is that a thing? I guess I just made it a thing. Okay, now as for today, and if I'm rushing a little bit, it's because I'm a little bit behind schedule, because the other Lawson on the other side of the station had people in it, and I didn't want to disturb them, so I had to wait for this one to open. Okay, the next 24 hours, today, which is today, I'm going to finish up here. It's 6:21. I have the dog walk with Yumiko is at 7. I'll finish up here in just a few minutes, see if there's any questions and comments that I need to answer. Then I'll go home, we'll have the dog walk, we'll have breakfast, and I'm gonna head over to the house, and it's a regular day of work. Yesterday was a holiday. I'm going to make as many trips to the dump as I can. Yeah, that's it for that. Let's see if there's any questions that I can answer. There's April. Hi, April. Good morning, April. Morning, all. Renaissance says, morning from Nate. Hi, Nate. Matt, good morning. Renaissance says, Kurt, what is the plan for the area immediately around the house that you were cleaning and removing the bamboo rhizomes? No plan. So I imagine it's going to be a garden. But the immediate plan is to clear it of all the big rocks and the bricks and the bamboo, make it just a nice area, and then we're going to fence it, put some sort of a fence around it, and that's going to be the dog's area of the yard. So probably something that's dog friendly, but we haven't really decided yet. The first goal is just to clear it. Matt says, hi Kurt, the house is quite close to the river. Ain't you afraid of possible flooding? It's actually not close. It's about, it is close, but it's about, if you're talking footsies, it's probably 30 feet from the river, and we're not afraid of flooding because it is a flood controlled river. So the city has stabilized the river, put in flood control apparatus, including pools further up the river to capture rainwater in the event. So it should be safe. And then there's someone says, is that Little Feet? Konbanwa? Konbanwa to you. All right, well, it's actually Ohio gozaimasu here. April says, and you sort of lost the balance with overdoing yourself a bit yesterday. I think it's a little hard to realize your age until you do something that makes you pay attention. It's good you caught it. Yes, I definitely lost my balance yesterday. It was like a kid thrilled at Christmas tripping over the stairs on his way to the Christmas tree. That's how I felt yesterday. Ex-Flood Casual, you're a new name I haven't seen. Welcome. Why was it tricky to win the bid on the house? I thought there was a surplus of housing in Japan. That's a good question. It's because of the location. So it just happens to be that this is where we wanted to live. We didn't think we could live here. My wife grew up in this area. My wife's dad's house and her sister's house, they live together, is literally a 5-minute walk from ours up down the river. So they live along the river. And so just to the earlier question about the house, the river being a danger, my wife grew up closer to the river than we are, the same river, and her family has lived there in that area for 400 years. So, and no one's washed away. So the river should be safe. So back in the Edo period, in the feudal period, this area was called Yada, which means the Valley of Tea, and it was a little village. Shizuoka is about, if you were back in the Edo period, it would be like an hour's walk on the Old Tokaido Highway away. After the war, the infrastructure of Shizuoka grew up around it. We're up against a little mountain called the Nihon Daira, and 2 train stations were built nearby. One is a JR mainline trunk line, and the other is a Shizutetsu line as well. They're right next to it, within 10 to 15 minutes walking distance of the house. So what happened was, because it's a beautiful area, 2 train stations, prefectural art museum, the prefectural library is there, and it's accessed right behind the house. Beautiful, the mountain, the Nihon Daira mountain is back there, beautiful parks and trails, hiking trails, and everything. It became a very desirable area to live. Yumiko likens it, she says it's the Beverly Hills of Shizuoka. I would think of it more like the Roppongi Hills of Shizuoka. This is where all the professionals want to build their homes. The doctors, all the company presidents that own their own companies here. Everybody in the greater Shizuoka area that wants to build a house, wants to build it in Yada, where we live. Now, back in the day when my wife's family was here, that wasn't the case. They happened to just own a lot of land in the area that everybody eventually wanted to come to. So this beautiful suburban community built up around my wife's family. When we came to Japan and wanted to buy a house, we never considered that we would be able to buy a house in that community because it was too far out of reach. The homes here are just way, way too expensive. So what happened was the realtor, when we've been searching for like over a year, the realtor network in the area there knew about us. Our realtor is a local. And so all of the realtors in the area knew that there was this American guy and his Japanese wife, or I should say this Japanese woman with her American husband, that were searching for a place in and around the Yara area. And when this house came on the market, the realtor network did their thing. One realtor reached out to another realtor who reached out to our realtor, and our realtor called us up and said, hey, there's this house that just came on the market. Do you want to see it this afternoon? So we said, you bet. We walked up the river because it's right up the river from the apartment. We walked up the river, looked at it, went right back to the apartment, and within an hour, we wrote up a full price offer and said, here, yes, 1,000 times yes. Because it wasn't the old-fashioned Japanese house we wanted, but it was smack in the bullseye of the location. Like I said, 5-minute walking distance up the river from Dad's house. And it has land, and it's built after 1981 with the improved earthquake standards. The price of the house, which was basically 10 million yen, was just the price of the land, right? I mean, this house was basically worth zero. And so we bought it knowing we were just buying the land. And we just hoped that the house would be structurally sound, that we could actually live in. And that's the architect visited earlier in the week and said, yep, your house is a sound house. So that's the story of the house. Sorry, maybe more information than you asked for, but we got really, really lucky with this one. Why was it tricky? So it was tricky to win the bid. So to answer the question I'll ask was, as soon as others knew about the land, because this land is what people want, right? Because there's some doctor somewhere that wants to build a house in Yada, and they're looking for land because almost all the land is used up. So, and within an hour of our bid being accepted, full price non-contingent bid being accepted, an bit above asking price offer came through. We almost missed the house by an hour. That's why it was so hard. We had to act quick. We were going to sleep on it for a night. We would have lost the house if we had waited. Are there any kominkas around you? Not too many. Most of the kominkas are in our area are further up the river. Although you might find this interesting, there was a samurai. Actually, my father-in-law told me he was a daimyo, had a house in the area, but that house has long been torn down. I'd say maybe right around our area, the community, there's 5 or 6 old kominka, but mostly they've been torn down and replaced with newer homes. Perfect location and everything you wanted. Yeah, in April, we really, really got lucky with this one. Yeah. Okay, guys, it's 6:30. I've gone through all the comments. Thank you for joining. Wishing everybody the best. Let's have a good day. Be safe, but not too safe. Oh, and Robert. Hey, Robert. Hi, hello, Kurt. Oh, Robert's saying hi to everybody. Thank you, Robert, for being you. Ciao, Danielle. Take care.